So, hello and welcome to our fifth fall presentation. Amidst remote learning, many robotics students have lost the opportunity to obtain this hands-on experience that we used to have. So therefore, our team FTC 14020 Nemesis Prime has been reaching out to professionals, asking to give presentations about themselves, their professional journey, and about a fantastic or fascinating topic about their own specific profession.
Today, we have Mrs. Karen Ferrante, who is a senior director at Johnson & Johnson, whose team is globally responsible for IT integration related to acquisitions and divestitures. Mrs. Ferrante started off by getting an undergraduate degree from the University of Delaware in consumer economics and then continued her education to LaSalle University, where she received her MBA. Mrs. Ferrante has been working at Johnson & Johnson for over 25 years. She's here today to share her journey and to shed some light on what she does in acquisitions and divestitures. In her free time, she enjoys 3D printing and building things like soldering kits. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. I'm so excited to be here. And like Emma said, I'm going to go through my journey and also share some things with regards to what I do at Johnson & Johnson in my very fulfilling and very exciting job. And, I would encourage also as we go through this, if you have any questions or comments, this is meant to be interactive as well. So please, please feel free to jump in at any time if you have any questions. I'm really looking forward to kind of having a chance to talk with all of you. So I mentioned that I'm going to be talking about a little bit of what I do within the acquisitions and divestiture space, as well as a little bit about Johnson & Johnson. But I also want to kind of share with you my journey, because as Emma mentioned to you, I started at the University of Delaware. And this slide is kind of a teaser. What do these things have in common? Well, what these things have in common is the various things that have led me down the path to the position that I'm in now, and really enjoying the role that I have within J&J. I always have enjoyed the role I had as I went on my journey, but this is in particularly a really exciting role within the acquisition and divestiture space, because I know that I'm having direct impact on the business, and I wouldn't have gotten into this position if I hadn't, tried new things along the way and really explored to determine where my passion was. So I actually started in geology because I loved science, and I had competed in science fairs, and I had, all kinds of opportunities to grow in the area of science when I was in high school, but I didn't really know exactly which area I wanted to go into. So geology was appealing because it covered all aspects of science, biology and chemistry and physics. But then, I realized that it wasn't really exactly what I wanted to do, and I wanted to have more of a business slant as well. So I ended up moving more towards the business side and graduated in consumer economics. But at the same time, I was very interested in computers, and you can see here, this is I actually worked on this computer when I was in high school. This is the old TRS-80, or we used to call it the Trash 80. But, I was really into computers early on, and continued to, play with computers and get a lot, or had continued to buy computers on my own, building them on my own. So the point around, with regards to college is I started in that area of geology, but then I went to business, but then I also was playing with computers, and I was also, I was on the ambulance squad. I was in environmental clubs. I was in all kinds of different activities because I was really kind of trying to shape or figure out what my passion was, and realizing that I had an interest in business as well as marketing. Interestingly enough, when I graduated from college, I went and worked for Black & Decker as a sales rep, selling power tools. all still within this theme of I like to make things, I like computers and so forth. But you know, I started with Black & Decker. I wasn't driving those cars, by the way. I'm not that old, but but you know, I worked for Black & Decker for a year, but then I realized, you know what? I don't think this marketing thing is what I want to do. I think I want to go more into a more of a still within the computer and IT field. So I started looking. Actually started my MBA around that same time, and through starting my MBA and actually starting to put the word out that I was interested in more of a corporate job and more of a computer-oriented job, I actually landed a position with it was McNeil Pharmaceutical at the time. It was 1992, so that was like 29 years ago, and I started on the help desk. And I'm here to tell you that when I interviewed for that job, they said, okay, do you know, you probably wouldn't even know the software anymore, it was all DOS based, but did you know such and such software? And they're like, oh yeah, I know that. I could provide help desk support for that. Well, in the meantime, of course, I had to go learn it. So my point being that don't be afraid to, you know, sometimes realize that, you know, you got to get out of your comfort zone and try some things and have the confidence that you'll be able to learn what you need to do to be successful in a role. So I took on that role and then finished my MBA and continued to be advanced in different positions throughout Johnson & Johnson. In the meantime, I also have a passion for website development. I created this website years ago. I went through a phase of really enjoying hacking and ethical hacking, and went to the DEF CON conference a couple of times, which is fascinating if you ever have an opportunity to go there. I also got into 3D printing and love soldering. This is my favorite soldering iron, the Hacko. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but anyway, it's my favorite tool as far as for soldering. And then you know, this is kind of a combination here of it all, the 3D printing, that's a 3D printed case, and through Adafruit, I learned how to build this kit. This is a Raspberry Pi with a little wireless keyboard, even has a little mouse pad there. So yeah, this is all fun stuff. And and the thing is, even though I don't do 3D printing in my job at work, I don't do coding. I'm leading a team of project managers to manage some pretty complex projects. Just the problem solving skills that I developed, you know, being able when in the orthopedic space, when they're talking about 3D printing models of knees for hip or knee replacements, I know what they're talking about because I have a printer. So just you know, encouraging you all, which I'm sure you're already doing. Just try things, experiment, learn. You know, figure out what you like, and it's going to help you to be that much more successful. I think the only other thing is Udemy here. That's just, I love Udemy. I always buy the classes when they're on sale. They're like $10, and you know, learning is constant. I believe you really need to continue to learn in all kinds of fields, because it just makes you that much more effective and you know, in both your personal and your professional life. So I'm going to stop there for a minute. Is there, you know, any questions, or you know, does this resonate with you all?
Yeah, Mrs. Ferrante, I actually have a question. So
Yes.
what are some of these, what are some things that you've actually built for fun or tinkered with for fun during like your off time with all these cool tools you have?
Well, yeah, so I like anything that has like lights. So so it probably won't show up because it's going to disappear on the screen, but I'll try it. So like, here's some goggles that I wear at New Year's, and of course, like right before I tried to turn them on and the battery's dead. But you know, if you just if you just imagine the lights going around here, yeah, this is a great thing that it's called Lots of Lights. It's a great exercise in soldering. See all those? Like if you need to practice soldering, that's but you know, that's, and you can, and then I can program this with the Arduino to do some like signs, and then just like 3D printing fun things, like here's a little desk gadget toy thing, and you know, those sorts of things. So I know you all are robotic experts, robotic engineer experts, right? I can't claim that I could design anything like you. Anything that I do, I get kits, but I always learn through those kits. The one robot I did was like one of the, what they call the balancing robots. Those are cool. Like they, you know, self leveling or self balancing. So anyway, that's kind of just a just, you know, kind of a couple things, different things. But I think soldering is very therapeutic. It's very relaxing. And then, you know, in the end, when you put a kit together and it works, or you program that code, you know, for the Arduino, and it actually works, it's like, wow. It's very, very fulfilling. So, oh, the other mischievous thing I've done is a little TV gone. Have you guys seen that? It has a infrared built into it, just a little kit with infrared lights built into it, but it's pre-coded with infrared lights for the common TVs. And when you hold it near a TV, it turns the TV off. So you can be really kind of, it's an interesting thing because you can be, you know, hold this gadget up and turn the TV off, and nobody knows why the TV turned off. Like if you're in an office or something. Not that I've ever done that. Never. To see how people react. They're like, something's going on. I can't figure it out. So I love the gadgets. Any other questions before I go on? I mean, I think I really think that the big, the big thing for me when I was in college was really figuring out what I wanted to do. And college is a great opportunity. There's usually so many different clubs and organizations that you can join to kind of fast track, to figure out what you want to be doing. And certainly take advantage of the time to get exposed to all those things, because that's the place where you're going to have that opportunity. You're going to be interfacing with so many different people, so many different interests. And, that's where you really, really will benefit. Okay. So I thought I'd move on here to talk a little bit about Johnson & Johnson, where I work. The thing about Johnson & Johnson that is really interesting is I think it's one of the largest healthcare providers in the world, and or healthcare companies in the world. And many people think of Johnson & Johnson as a primarily a consumer healthcare company, Band-Aids and shampoos and so forth. But what's really cool about Johnson & Johnson is it's so much more. It's pharmaceutical products as well as medical devices. And, obviously we're in the news right now. We're working on the COVID vaccine, and that's looking very promising. The clinical trials are going along very well, and actually resumed again today. And then you can see all these other areas as well in the pharmaceuticals and in immunology and cardiovascular, pulmonary hypertension, in neuroscience and oncology. And then in medical devices, what's fascinating about medical devices, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit in just a little bit, we're branching into multiple areas. So we're now the largest orthopedics company in the world. And one of the things that is really interesting in that space is we're using 3D printing quite a bit for with knee replacements. A lot of times when people get knee replacements, it's hard for the surgeon to determine the dimensions in advance to have a successful knee replacement. And they have to actually, during surgery, do different fittings to figure out what the right dimensions should be. And we've been working within, and I'm not an expert in this, but I know that we have been working with 3D printing to build models in advance of an individual patient's knee, so that so it's much higher likelihood that it will be a successful surgery, because they can plan in advance for that. And the other area that is really exciting, within the last year and a half, we've been investing in robotic and digital surgery. And the Auris Health, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, is one of the most fascinating things that I've seen within this space. They're actually using Xbox controllers to control endoscopic discovery, and it's just fascinating to see. And the future is here. I mean, in technology, and for healthcare, I truly believe the future is in technology, and with data and digital printing, 3D printing, and robotics and automation, and all of these things, that is where the future is. So you are absolutely in the right place. Even though Johnson & Johnson is a health care company, it's becoming a technology company. So, and it's, and the investments are being made in that space of technology. I mean, we've spent, I think the Auris acquisition was, I want to say it was $3.5 billion. Don't quote me on it, but it was definitely high. It was in the billions. So, Johnson & Johnson's serious about that. And other companies as well are beginning to see that technology is foundational and mainstream to the success of the company and growth. Any questions around this?
Yeah, actually, we have a few. So,
okay.
Given your interest in like tools, technology, machinery, have you had any chances to see some of the unique medical devices Johnson & Johnson has?
The most recent was, like a year ago, where in Switzerland we have a 3D printing lab, and oh my gosh, it was amazing. Like that Ultimaker 2 that I have, that's like nothing compared. This was a whole room full of all different printers, the resin printers, the ones that they use for titanium printing. I think it was titanium metal printing. Really amazing technology, and and they're investing a lot in that. So that was exciting. 1 second, I think that my power is just going a little bit here. So I'm just gonna make sure I get this plugged in here. And then, I've had the opportunity to see surgery equipment. So with Ethicon, with our Ethicon division, which is primarily focused on surgical products, we make like custom surgery knives for doctors, like where they actually go and they're made custom fit so that they can be most effective in their surgery. So that's pretty cool. And then in Cincinnati, we have which I've been to as well, we have a almost like it's like a mock hospital, but it's where the physicians come and they learn how to use our tools and equipment, which is pretty cool as well. And it's also a headquarters for telemedicine. And so, where physicians can be using video conferencing for telemedicine or for consultation for various cases. So it's pretty fascinating. J&J that's one of the things about joining a large company. In my 29 years, I've been able to go all over. I mean, I've worked in consumer, I've worked in pharmaceutical, I work in medical devices, had the opportunity to be exposed to all these businesses, which I'm really grateful for. It's really interesting.
All right. And one other one was that you mentioned that surgeries could actually be done with Xbox controllers. So is J&J looking to potentially incorporate virtual reality somehow into this?
You know, I am quite sure that we are. That's a great question. I'm quite sure that we are. I have to admit, I haven't had direct exposure to it, or know how they're applying virtual reality. But I will say that in training and you know, as well as, yeah, I mean, like training, and then as well as like actually learning how to use the tools, I'm certain that we are, because we are definitely in a lot of the cutting edge space. I know we're doing a lot with Internet of Things as well. So, but that's a great question. Now you got me thinking. I'm going to go back and ask. Okay. All right. And I thought you might find this kind of interesting within the space that I'm managing with and I'm only speaking to acquisitions here. And when I say acquisitions, I mean this is companies that we buy. So 40% of our growth is for J&J is as a result of buying companies. So these are all companies that we bought within the last 2 to 3 years, and you know, and it's all, you know, the strategy is to continue to buy companies in the space that we want to grow in. And then we also have divestitures, and divestitures are companies that we sell because it's in an area that we may not want to be focusing in as much in the future, so that we can direct our attention and dollars and resources to more of the areas that we want to grow in. So, you know, for example, Zarbee's is in the consumer business, but it's all natural products for kids, for like cough medicine and so forth. Dr. Salabo, this is pretty fascinating. This is a company in Japan that's focused on skincare, and they have very advanced products in skincare. And then they also have interesting salons where they tell me they actually use like snails or something, and they put the snails on people's faces, and that's how they give them great skin. But but the products themselves are you know, that are oriented towards you know, very high-end skincare, which, you know, in Japan is a very you know, lucrative market. And then we had like Italian was a huge acquisition in support of pulmonary investigation and future state products. So I'm not going to go through all these, but the point being that even like Abbott Medical Optics was a huge acquisition in the space of for cataract surgery, because we have a whole division of contacts and advances in vision. So it's fascinating to me to see how, you know, a company like J&J, a large company, you know, targets these companies, and then we bring them into the fold, and then we're able to advance in those areas. And so what my team does is, I circle here, my team in information technology, primarily we get involved in the early stage before the deal is public, to help to assess the value of the deal and to provide estimates and what it will take to bring them into the company. From an IT perspective, and then we manage the transition and then the actual integration. And when I say integration, what I mean is, and I'm not going to go through all of these obviously, but these are all of the things that we have to do to actually bring a company into Johnson & Johnson from a infrastructure standpoint, IT infrastructure. And so like getting them on J&J email, getting them access to Microsoft OneDrive or Microsoft Office 365, getting them new computers, phones, getting them access to help desk support and training. Another big piece of what we do is the network. We have to put in a whole new network so that they can access J&J applications and be able to collaborate across the organization. We put in phones. We have to deal with security. Cybersecurity is a big one. A lot of times when we buy companies, because they were smaller, they weren't targets for cyber crime or cyber hacking. But now that Johnson & Johnson has acquired them, they can potentially be an into Johnson & Johnson's network. So this is one of the first areas that we go after, because we notice usually once we acquire the companies, we start to see potentially a lot of what appears to be, not good behavior, trying to get into our network. So this is a big focus for us. And then hosting for data and applications. Emma's dad, I work with Emma's dad all the time on getting these applications hosted within Johnson & Johnson, and all the storage that we have to assume, to host all of those applications. So these are the things that my team gets involved in. And, a lot of times the company that we're acquiring, they might be not using some of the standards that we use within Johnson & Johnson. So we need to go through a process of, upgrading them or replacing with the technology that we support within our environment. So it's pretty involved, but it's very fascinating work. It really is interesting and very satisfying. Do you have any questions around this? This is there's a lot on this slide, I know, so.
Yeah, we actually have a few. So
Okay.
One is, as IT is a big part of J&J, would it be a good idea for students who are interested in coding computer science to apply to J&J?
I would say absolutely yes, especially now, as I was mentioning earlier, with this recognition of the fact that technology is foundation to our products. More and more, the products have the technology actually integrated into. The technology is a big part of the product, and like with the robotic surgery and some of the devices that we have, and the Internet of Things that I mentioned, the connections to the hospitals, the connection to our patients. We're even starting to get involved with products or services where we're interfacing with the patients using technology to help to accelerate positive outcomes. So that's related to the products. But then in another area of IT, data, data coding, mining data, looking for patterns and trends to be able to inform a better decisions, and what's working within our marketing space, what's even website development. There's many areas of IT where coding is supported. We do use, not all of our coding is done internally, not all of our coding is done by employees. We do use contractors and vendors as well, providers, but there definitely are people that are doing coding or leading teams that are coding. So definitely a good opportunity there. And I did provide my email, so you can always, if you have questions, you can always email me as well.
Yep. And on the topic of students, so is there any way students would be able to start learning any of these many IT skills to determine whether this is the right career for them?
Yeah, I would say that I mentioned Udemy earlier. I think Udemy is I've found that to be a great tool to, take if you're just kind of interested in a little class that if you watch for the sales, it could literally be $10 for a pretty comprehensive class. I would also say it's not lynda.com anymore. It's part of LinkedIn now. There's some good classes on, it used to be called lynda.com, lynda.com. But yeah, LinkedIn took it over, but that's a pretty good source for computer related courses. And I learn a lot on YouTube now. I like YouTube better than TV. Because I find you can learn how to do anything on YouTube. And so, I think that's a great, in fact, I would say that almost everything I learned in that tinkering space that I talked about, the kits and everything, I've learned completely on my own. Like Adafruit. Do you go to Ada? You must buy things from Adafruit, right? Oh wow, Adafruit's a great. You have to check out Adafruit. So it's adafruit.com, and they have tons of videos on kits to make. That's actually I think that's where I learned how to do that Raspberry Pi thing that I showed you earlier. Of course, they link to all the supplies that you need from the videos. That's part of the reason that they show the videos. But they have so many great things, and they design a lot of their own products too. Like their boards and components and lights and so forth. So wearables and motion sensors and all of those kinds of things. So definitely check out Adafruit. You're gonna be like, you're gonna get on and start watching videos, and you're gonna be, oh, I gotta make that. Oh, I want to make that. I want to make that. So that's what happens to me. I got a bunch of kits in the queue that I haven't made yet that I bought because I got excited about it. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, perfectly.
Oh, great.
So I wanted to go back to the J&J acquiring companies. So one question that we had was, does J&J incorporate some of the ideas of the companies that they acquire into their products?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, we a lot of times we buy companies because we don't have the expertise. So the acquisition of Auris as well as Verb, and Verb was a partnership with Google actually in digital surgery. We've acquired those companies because these startup companies are already way ahead of what it would take for us, to use our internal resources. So we acquire that, that intellectual property in essence, and then they become part of the company, and it's a win-win situation because they probably need some more marketing and funding behind them, and we need the expertise. So partnering together, it's a win-win situation because we can accelerate their work and they can accelerate the areas that we're looking to advance. So a lot of times we definitely buy for that purpose. Now, as far as technology itself, like a platform or something that they may have invested in, sometimes we do. Sometimes we add to our platforms because maybe we have a gap in a certain space, and we'll add to our portfolio from that perspective as well.
And one last question that we had was, when working with these new companies and like working with the IT integration services and capabilities, how much travel do you really need to do when working with them?
Well, boy, that's a great question too. So I've been managing the acquisitions and divestitures, I think it's 6 years, maybe 7 years now. And It varies, it varies. I would say, I would probably maybe traveling like 20-25%, if that, because a lot of the work that we do, we can do over the phone or we can do over conferencing. But when we travel, it's usually more because we need to get on site to do like an assessment, a physical assessment, which is harder to do on video. We've done it, but it's much easier when you're on site and you're looking at the cabling, you're looking in the computer room, you're kind of looking for just getting a sense of the general environment. How many people are there, how's the space, all those kinds of things. So we travel for that. We also usually like to travel at least to meet the team face to face initially when we can, but then we do try to keep the travel reasonable because travel's expensive, and people also kind of want to spend time with their families. So I did spend a lot of time with one of our deals, our recent deals with Jabil, which is a situation where they're handling our manufacturing operations, but we're still maintaining the rest of the business operations that's customer facing. We did a lot of travel for that, and that was in Switzerland, and their headquarters is in Tampa, and the other sites that we're doing are in New Mexico and Mexico, and as well as in Germany. So it really varies depending upon the deal. Sometimes we do more travel, but I would not say that we're traveling as much as some other functions, probably in general in business, because we're IT and we know how to do some things remotely with technology. These are great questions. Okay, I'll move on to this one. So I talked about the Auris acquisition. So this is in the area of digital surgery, and you'll see here I mentioned the Xbox controller. So this is a startup company in the Bay Area in California. And in fact, I've been told that Bill Gates came and visited them because they were buying so many controllers. He was trying to figure out what the heck they were doing with all these controllers. But what's so interesting and cool about this is that I truly believe that this is the way of the future. Digital surgery or robotic surgery. It's apparently much more reliable because it's not as you don't have complete dependency on just a human surgeon or the experience of that surgeon. So there's still a surgeon that's controlling the machinery, you could literally be in an operating room and there's a surgeon in Germany, overseeing this, and there's another surgeon that's in, I don't know, make it up, Texas, that's kind of learning, and that expert surgeon in Germany is kind of watching how the surgeon in Texas is actually managing the surgery. Like I could see that this is just going to be the way of the future, where you're not limited to the hospital that you go to, because you'll have access to basically surgeons all over the world. And I mean, that's going to be just a huge advancement. And I actually have like a little video here. We'll see how it plays here. But this particular hardware or equipment or platform is for diagnostic and therapeutic bronchoscopic, it's hard to say, procedures focused on lung cancer. And with lung cancer, the earlier that it's detected and treated, the greater likelihood of the outcome for the patient. So you'll see the way this equipment works is it's able to go in and look around the lungs to actually detect cancer that may not be readily discoverable in as a traditional procedures. So that thing that it goes right into the bronchial tubes there. And then the vision is it actually will treat the cancer as well as it's detected. So this is huge stuff. I mean, it's really, really amazing. This is why what you all are doing is so important, because this is going to be the future. I have one more video here on the next slide. What's our time? Because I think that's like that's like 2 minutes long. So do you want me to show that one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I gotta go here. Okay. This one has some audio, but I don't know if you'll hear it. Let me see that. Can you hear that? Oh, okay. Well, you can watch the pictures. Yeah, you probably can't hear him, huh? I can hear him, but I think on Zoom it doesn't project.
So if anyone's interested in looking at this or looking up this video, you can go on YouTube. It's under Monarch platform.
Yep.
Endoscopy transformed Auris Health. So that's where the video comes from. So if you guys want to look at it.
Right. So yeah, and it's weird because I can hear it, but maybe my speaker doesn't pick it up because of the way Zoom is set up. But yeah, I would say that there's some good kind of commentary about it on the video itself. And then, like you said, you can search Monarch platform, and there's a bunch of videos. So it really is fascinating. So it's a big focus for us right now. For J&J to advance in robotic surgery, we've invested a lot in it, and there's a large team not only working with these two companies that we've acquired for the actual development, but also just an entire platform to interface with the hospitals as well as and data, kind of be able to have a data platform as well to be able to measure outcomes and so forth. So huge investment, fascinating area. Okay. Oh, that's not, there we go. So, I had one more slide here, and then we can talk about whatever you'd like to talk about, and feel free to ask me some additional questions, or I can go back to any of the areas that we talked about. But I would, like, if you take anything away from this, this is kind of how I'll say that how I have lived my journey, followed my journey, kind of kept me motivated and excited, and giving me new opportunities and to be able to land into the roles that I've been in. try new things. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I got into a role where I didn't know everything. I may not even known half of what I needed to know. But if you limit yourself by thinking you have to know everything and you have to be perfect and you have to, you know, go into a role, hitting the ground running, you may end up limiting yourself, right? So, I just would encourage you that, you have the confidence, you probably know more than you think, and, you can do whatever you really want to do. Just try it. And that's how you learn and grow and, getting out of your comfort zone and so forth. I don't mean to sound preachy, but it's so true. It's been what's really helped me to get exposed and have the opportunities I've had. And then, learning never ends. I mentioned I'm on YouTube all the time. I'm trying new things. I have all kinds of hobbies, and I've been able to use those as a basis for connecting to people at work and connecting to the things that we do for our patients and our customers and hospitals and so forth. And then, when you get into a role, and I know you'll be going into college, volunteering for stretch assignments, Emma, I'll use an example. You're leading this call tonight. I'm sure you kind of volunteered to lead and find somebody that could come and talk to everyone here. That's doing things like that exposes you to people and exposes you to new things. So that's a great kind of attitude to have, that when you're in a club or you're in a job or whatever, it's like, hey, I want to try that, I want to help, and then you get exposure to leadership type roles as well. And then finally, building relationships and staying connected. You never know where that opportunity is going to come from, right? So by building relationships and letting folks know what you're interested in, and with this day and age with social media, you can connect with people all over the world, right? So you might make a connection with somebody, and then all of a sudden, they contact you, say, hey, I know you had said that you were interested in coding or robotic surgery or whatever it might be, and I just heard about this opportunity, and do you think you'd be interested? And if you don't get the word out, or if you don't have the connections, you might miss that opportunity. So it's always good to build relationships and then stay connected with people. So that's, you notice I put my email up. Feel free to send me an email or ask me questions, or whatever. If I can help you in any way, I'll be happy to do that, because I really believe in that when you meet people and you stay connected, it helps you grow and exposes you to new opportunities. So these are kind of things, follow your passion, figure out what that is, and you're really going to enjoy life that way. So that's what I had, but you can feel free to ask me anything. And I hope you found this to be interesting and beneficial.
All right. So we have a few questions. One is, okay, how can students start building relationships and connections with professionals at an early stage?
Okay. That's a really great question. I think LinkedIn is probably a really good place because it's becoming more of a platform where people do have discussions. It used to just be kind of like a bio, right? And I have to admit, mine's not up to date, so don't look at mine. Emma was calling. She's like, "Can I use your, information from LinkedIn?" I'm like, I don't think it's very up to date, but anyway, so don't use me as an example. But LinkedIn is a great place where there's some groups that you can join. Um, you know, I think once we kind of get back into the swing of things where people are more out and about, meetups, there's a lot of meetup.com, like where you can join, uh, clubs or events. And that's a great way to meet professionals, to make those connections. Um, I think, again, with social media, um, Facebook groups are fantastic. I have found a lot of really good Facebook groups that, where you have to join, you have to be, they may not be open, you might have to apply, but where people share their projects and they share their questions and issues that they're having on a project or whatever it might be. That's another great place. So there are just tons of ways, I think, to connect, or if there's events going on, conventions. There, again, like we'll be back to normal soon, I'm sure, but when all of that opens up again, and going to college, that there are usually a lot of sponsor events, internships. I didn't mention I did some internships when I was in college as well. And that's a great opportunity to get exposed to different professions too. So those are just a few things.
On the topic of internships, does Johnson & Johnson give internships in the IT department or in any other various departments?
Yeah, we do. We have summer co-op programs. It's kind of limited, as far as the numbers, but there are co-ops, and then there's a program. It's called the ITLDP program, the IT Leadership Development Program, and that's for individuals in college. I think you might have to be a junior. I'm not sure, but I know, I don't think it's like for freshman year, but maybe more later. But that's a program where you get to go on rotations. You spend like an 8-month rotation in one area, and then you do another in another area, and I think it's like 3 8-month rotations, and then at the end you have a final placement and you're hired with J&J. So that's a really good program, very prestigious program. That's a pretty rigorous interviewing process, but it's a really good opportunity.
All right. And one thing I wanted to go back to was the very interesting topic of the robotic surgeries. So for such surgeries, how do you see IT kind of playing its part in making robotic surgery into a reality for the public?
Okay, so how the role that J&J will play in that, you're saying?
Yeah.
Or
basically, like the role of the IT department in J&J, really.
Oh, okay, got it. Boy, I know the perfect person to answer that question. The person that's leading the IT department for that program, but I think I really believe that it's the investment that we're making in putting enough people and resources on it to take what the startup company has started to develop and now expand that. So there's like a whole, I know that there's I think there's got to be, I want to say there's probably over 100 IT professionals easily that are already working on this, and building the interfaces across the systems and the processes to be able to accelerate the development and the testing and the outcome of the new products. So I don't have the details, unfortunately. I don't know all the details of what all of those teams are doing, but I know that they put a very, very focused effort on this space. I mean, we bought the 2 companies in California, but then we also bought one in Denmark, and I'm trying to think what other, there's another one in Europe that we bought as well. So, you know, that, I mean, definitely a significant investment. And the IT department, they're developing in, the platform that they're developing in is using Ubuntu, so Linux development. So, but beyond that, I'm not sure what they're coding in, but I know that they're using Ubuntu, and I know that they're using Microsoft controllers, Xbox controllers. So I think one of it, you know, the IT department will do the development, and then our marketing organization will take care of getting the word out to the public so that the investment is made in the actual product in the launch.
I had a question.
Mm-hmm.
So how have you noticed just in general being a woman in a STEM field has changed over time?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. You know, it's kind of interesting because my entire career, even before Johnson & Johnson, so I was selling power tools as a woman. I'm not going to tell you how many years ago. And where the sales force was 25% women. And then, you know, later got into a computer field. I mean, the technology services organization, which used to be, I would say, it's not so much now, but a higher percentage of men in the field. And I actually never really paid attention to it because I just always felt like I was part of the team. And, you know, as long as you're doing your job and, you know, you're integrated within the team, it in my mind, you know, it doesn't matter as long as you're, you know, you're contributing. But I will say that over the years, there's significantly more women getting into IT, and it's great to see, because I think that, you know, the more diversity that we have in all areas, I mean, in all areas of diversity, the more that we have with, you know, bringing in different points of view and thought leadership, it just makes us that much more effective. So definitely, there's definitely been a change there. And I think like the program, the STEM programs and the things that are being done to inform, you know, young women about, you know, the opportunities in this field has been really great as well, because I think sometimes people don't realize what's available to them. So I think all of that education is really important as well.
And one other question we have is, as you probably know, Rutgers has the famous Robert Wood Johnson Medical School, and that is a very famous name associated with Johnson & Johnson. So what kind of a connection have you noticed between potential students from Rutgers and Johnson & Johnson, and maybe within even the IT department?
Well, that's really interesting. Well, I mean, I will say I know a lot of people that went to Rutgers. And I think, you know, I actually think that just because the Rutgers campus is right next to the Johnson & Johnson World Headquarters, you know, that they probably are, you know, obviously some, you know, more opportunities, or it's in the forefront, right? Not more opportunities, but it's, you know, in top of mind that Johnson & Johnson is an option, right? I really don't know the connection, though, with Robert Wood Johnson and you know, other than the fact that I know that people have, you know, definitely come from Rutgers to work for Johnson & Johnson, but I really am not sure what you know, anything about the connection and the sponsorship and so forth. I'm not sure if I'm answering the question or what was meant by the question. Did I answer it? Or were you looking for something a little bit different there?
Nah, that was really the premises of the question. Like, you answered it pretty well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know there's one of the guys on my team is from Rutgers, graduated from Rutgers. It's a very good school, really good school.
If that is all the questions, I'll just wrap things up. That's all of them, Avik.
Yep.
Okay. So first of all, I just wanted to once again thank you, Mrs. Ferrante, for coming and doing this with us. And then I just wanted to point out a couple of things that I know I pulled specifically from the presentation that I found interesting. So in the beginning, you mentioned that changing careers is okay, changing majors, especially in college, and to take your time to find what you like and find your passion. And I know you mentioned exploring clubs in college, which even I know a lot of kids do in high school too. We have a wide variety of clubs. And then you mentioned acquisitions and how your company gets a lot of growth from there. And it kind of reminds me of how I've seen companies like Disney and how they'll own news channels and a bunch of other companies. And it also reminds me kind of Shark Tank and how people make partnerships so they can benefit from each other, which I just thought was a interesting connection. And then also, I know a lot of times people think of Johnson & Johnson, a Band-Aid company or baby shampoo, but it's truly a huge company with, like you mentioned, like cybersecurity, data trends, marketing, and now hopefully soon robotic surgery. It just really has a ton of career opportunities and is really a huge company that is super beneficial to a lot of people. For our next presentation, you can check out our website and stay tuned for that. Thank you, everyone.
That was a great